This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Podcast Network. Please go to aratemedia.org to see lots of podcasts from our great friends, as well as if you would like to start your own podcast, they can provide you with the tools to do so there. So please head to aratemedia.org. That's ARETE media.org. On with the show, everybody!
On with the show.
Excellent. Welcome, everybody, to the Spur of the Moment podcast. I am your host, as always, Justin Spurr, and I'm joined by my co-host, the incomparable Jordan. And today, very exciting, we are joined by our guest from the Part of Your Broadway World podcast. It's Haley, everybody. Say hello, Haley.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Excellent. We will talk more about your podcast in the sponsorship section of the podcast. But in the meantime, let's start off with some news. Did either of you see the Deadpool trailer?
I did.
No.
No. I did.
Are you excited?
I'm excited.
Are you excited for the Marvel stuff at all, Haley? Is that in your wheelhouse?
I don't like Marvel.
You don't like Marvel? Ooh, that's
Fair.
okay. Fair. That's totally fair. Is it the costumes? Is it just not a form of storytelling?
Not your thing.
Not my thing.
Not
It's not my thing.
That's fair.
That's totally fair. You mind if we take like a few minutes to just geek out about it for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So Jordan, that trail looks phenomenal, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks so good. I love the fact that they have the sleeveless Wolverine costume in there, because that was a thing a lot of people were complaining about.
We pretty much were like, the next trailer is gonna have sleeveless Wolverine. It's gonna do it. It's gonna have it.
And then it did.
And then
it did not surprise us in that regard.
It did not surprise us in that regard. No, it looks fun. I was really happy to see a nice Wolverine heavy trailer. I don't know that it's gonna save the MCU, as it were, but
who cares?
Yeah.
I'm just going in the individual enjoyment of this movie.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's what we have to do from now on. Is just be individually excited for each thing and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not be, as the case may be.
So, have both of you guys seen the Facebook movie? Have you seen the Social Network?
I believe I talked about it on here.
You did talk about it. How about you, Haley? Have you seen the Social Network? No. Okay. Well, that one's a bit easier to. That is it's about Mark Zuckerberg and the creation of Facebook and all the genesis of that, and they're talking about doing a sequel, apparently, which it's one of those movies where if you've seen it, you're like, why?
Why?
I don't know.
That's
if you're
pretty much my first instinct was,
yeah.
Why? Who was asking for that?
Right? Like, I assume...
like the movie itself isn't a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. I actually really enjoyed the movie. It doesn't need a sequel.
No.
The sequel is that Facebook went on and continued to exist and still exists.
Right? Like,
I don't really. In terms of a movie, where do you go from there?
And just like in the terms of the zeitgeist, like the cultural zeitgeist, like who's using Facebook really regular? Like, Haley, do you use Facebook? No.
And the really funny thing is I use TikTok more than I use Facebook.
That's unfortunate. I also know you're on. Obviously we follow each other on Instagrams. Like I think that's more people are looking for like a media space now, like a TikTok or like an Instagram. I just don't know what. So it's going to be about. It's a pseudo sequel to the Social Network, and it's going to be about the events leading up to the insurrection, apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, okay. Is what's his name? The dude that played Mark Zuckerberg. Is he like he's fallen coming back for it?
I don't know. God, I hope so.
Or is it like this is now like a kind of a soft sequel where it's not really, but it.
I mean, I kind of want to see Jesse Eisenberg's version of Mark Zuckerberg do the what were they?
The Senate
committee hearings, and then
where he just is a robot. The entire in real life he's just a robot.
Yeah, and have him like passionately do Jesse Eisenberg speeches, and then somehow we can get the TikTok CEO in there. We'll get like a well-known Asian actor who can play the TikTok CEO, and we'll have Aaron Sorkin dialogue for it. It'll be great.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with. I know Haley's a Disney person, but
I am also a Disney person.
we're all Disney people
I like
here.
Disney.
Yes, fresh off the heels of her Disney trivia victory on the Toon Talk podcast.
Like
Nice.
that was a surprise to everybody.
Dominant victory. I had confidence in my own ability. I thought I'd do a strong second, but it was a dominant victory. I think that's indisputable. But I'm not sure you guys are familiar with the obviously the Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the making childhood stuff unpleasant movies.
Yeah, unfortunately I've heard of it.
I've seen the first one. It's not good. They're doing one for Little Mermaid, which I kept.
I mean, aren't they doing one? Aren't they setting up their whole like cinematic universe where they're doing like from Bambi to I guess Little Mermaid to the second Blood and Honey? Like they're doing one for everything.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
I don't know.
Hate it. I hate it.
I think I'm okay with Bambi because Bambi is like. It reminds me of Kevin Smith was going to do a movie called Moose Jaws, and it reminds me of that. Where it's like, well, what if Jaws but with a deer? I don't know why that amuses me for some reason. I don't know why. But the Little Mermaid, no, I'm good.
The confusion on your face is 100%. Yeah, that no, these are things that should not exist.
Exactly, these are not. And I also heard that they're doing one for Mickey too, and I'm like. Why?
Yeah. Apparently they are.
There's one for Peter Pan that's coming apparently as well.
I just why? Like why? Why do we need to do this? I don't get it.
I think people just want to hurt. I think that's what it is. They're looking for something to hurt them or something. I don't know. I don't get it either. Like I'm not being facetious. I legitimately don't get it. I don't get the appeal. The Little Mermaid is like, okay, I didn't really read. There's a trailer. I didn't watch it, but because I think it's more fun to just speculate what this thing is. So like, is it like, okay, Ariel is now the murderer? Like, I don't know. That just kind of changes the dynamic of that story.
Then she kind of stops being Ariel at that point and just becomes like your classic mythological creature,
siren.
Which most of them want to kill things.
Yeah, like a siren.
Yeah.
You're just making Ariel into like a siren.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what she looks like. She's got like sharp teeth, and it's like, well, what's the point?
It kind of just loses what makes it like at that point. It's not. You're just calling it that to draw attention to the fact that it's supposed to be a parody of Disney, but there's nothing that really makes it a parody of Disney if you're completely changing everything about it.
Right, and like, it's the same thing with like
I don't get it.
Where the bad thing is in the water, just don't go in the water. Like that's just seems like
unless they're
going to
give her. Unless they're going to give her the ability in this, because I think this is a mermaid thing where they can actively choose to change between mermaid legs and human legs. Like if you give that, I'm pretty sure that's a mermaid thing.
It just reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean because they have those sirens that can like change from
true
like human to and they're evil.
But I don't get it. Like, what's next? Aladdin, where they rub the lamp and the genie is a psychopathic murderer.
Yeah, I mean, although the genie is kind of like a Freddy Krueger-esque, he's hunting you. A genie being evil. The only thing that like the only way you could attach that to Aladdin would be to make him act like Robin Williams, I guess. But jinn in mythology are traditionally not cool, so. Like it's not that much of a leap for that character.
I should say I can think of creative ways to make these into horror movies, but these horror movies are never creative. I guess is like for example, I could think of a way where like you have it be where it's like a Robin Williams genie where it's like he's turning into different parodies of different killers or stuff and like that's the bit. That's where his zany humor of the Robin Williams type thing comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Is like he's turning into different things and that's how he's I could see how you could make that interesting, but nobody ever makes it interesting. They just take the boring
I
route.
will say that apparently Blood and Honey 2 is good.
Okay,
What
sure.
about what about when they do Steamboat Willie? Because they're making Steamboat Willie into a horror movie.
I mean, we had ideas.
We had ideas about how you could do that. That was on a previous podcast.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what I said my idea was at this point.
I mean,
But I had a
I
few.
said go in the direction of make it like an indie horror film and call it Steamboat William. That I remember.
Steamboat William.
Just because the name Steamboat William made me laugh.
I'll have to go back and rewatch the previous episode to see what I said. But I know I had a response for that, which Justin said was creative.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it's not that I don't think there are ways to do these things creatively. It's just you're right, they're not yet.
They're
anyway.
not. They never have been at this point as of yet.
I believe you could.
Maybe they can.
Although
one of them will.
I really like the Grinch one though.
The Disney horror subject.
I really like the Grinch one though. I did like that one. That one was fun. Like it was fun in like a campy horror kind of way. It was I actually did enjoy that one. So
to me that's inherently different than Disney because like they're going based off of specifically the Jim Carrey Grinch, and I would argue in that live action Grinch he is scary.
Yeah.
So to take that version of the Grinch and push it further into that horror category, to me, that's different than taking something which is like by design sweet, soft, and cuddly like Bambi and turning it into a horror thing like that.
That's where Bambi's different for me because Bambi's an animal. So it's not that far for you to be like, well, he could just act like a scary animal. Like that one's not a hard leap for me.
I don't know.
But to update a story that we covered previously, Jordan mentioned it very briefly at the end of the last episode. They're making a new Clue movie. Apparently, just to give Jordan a brief update, apparently the movie and the TV show rights were acquired by Sony.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. That's
okay.
Yeah,
all right. Doesn't instill hope, but all right. I'll give it a shot.
I don't know. Take some risks. It's the same thing with the Monopoly movie. Take some risks. That's all I'm saying. Do something different. Do something. Don't just do Jumanji. Like everyone's instinct is to just do a Jumanji, but like don't just do a Jumanji. Don't just do a Jumanji.
No.
So Jerry Seinfeld is not very optimistic about the future of the movie business. He says the day of everyone going to movies has come to an end. He believes that nobody is talking about movies anymore. Everybody look in the camera like Jim from The Office. What are we doing right now, folks? We're talking about movies. So
about movies.
I just wanted to bring that up to say that Jerry Seinfeld was wrong. That's.
I mean, I don't think that movies are theaters are dying, but I do think that theater etiquette is dying.
Yeah, we've had some bad times with that. Yeah,
we've had some discussions about that, and like just you and I are very forgiving when it comes to the movie theaters, but there have been some experiences that for me have very much soured the experience. It has nothing to do with like the movie or the thing that I'm watching. It's the people. As always, it's the people that make things bad.
Yeah, and it's also just like. Yeah, like one of the ones I watched today. It was like, yeah, I could have watched that in the theater and I probably would have enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it much more watching it at home. So like it's like accessibility. It's just so much easier to wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks and for it to go to streaming. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Which is part of the problem.
Yeah, and then you go to the movies and then you get those families who think that the movie theater is their living room. It's awful.
That's where I say it's not the theaters that are dying; it's theater etiquette that's dying.
Yeah, true. So in a warning of the dangers of AI, this James Bond trailer went viral, and just to show how thoroughly convincing it was for me, I clicked on it because I went, wait, Henry Cavill is James Bond? When did that happen? And then I had to read the article to be like, oh no, it's just an AI trailer. That's what.
Okay, so it's a fake trailer.
It's a fake trailer. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
And it's on my news movie website.
That's kind of irritating. Where it's like, if you see one like that theoretically, where it's like, oh, that looks really cool. What do you mean it's fake? I'm never gonna get to see this. Like that would enrage me.
Yeah, I know it's really frustrating. Yeah. So finally, our last bit of news here.
Light news day.
Yeah, not a lot of news. It's a lot of like casting and like a lot of like yeah, nothing. There was some stuff where I pulled it just out of interest, and I'm like, have you Breaking Bad? Haley, did you watch Breaking Bad?
A little bit
A
of
little
it.
bit. There was an article I pulled that said that the woman who plays Skylar, she feels that people's attitudes towards her have changed. Which, yeah, a lot of people are going yeah, that show really wants you to think she's her the character, yeah.
Okay.
Because like people, there was a list a while back that came out that like listed her as like one of the top 10 most hated television characters on a list with like characters from Game of Thrones. So okay, yeah, on a list with I can't remember the specific ones, but they were like, oh, like Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. It was like she was on the list, and it was like, oh yeah, the woman who didn't want her husband to sell drugs, she's worse than the guy who did what he did to. I don't want to get this video blocked. It's the guy who assaulted. He's somehow worse.
A guy who is a very, 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 very bad person.
He's lower,
and she's somehow worse.
He's lower on the list than she is. And it's like, yeah, people are now going back and being like, that's crazy.
That is nuts.
Yeah. Her wants and her desires are way reasonable. So I was like, I don't know how interesting that is. Anyway, the final bit of news is apparently in Inside Out 2, there was initially going to be a character, an emotion that they cut, shame, called shame. And they cut it because they felt it was too upsetting. But I'm like, I don't know. Shame to me works so much better than ennui. I'm guessing that's how they came to ennui.
Like, I never really got the fuck is ennui?
It's a French concept. It's hard to explain. Like, it doesn't really directly translate into English, but like the best description of it is boredom. So like I think it's
okay. Then my response to that would be, this is a children's movie, and if you as an adult can't explain what it is, then maybe they should have just called it boredom.
Yeah, well, it's like it's not quite boredom. That's just the best way to describe it. Like, it's more like
they could have just called it boredom.
Yeah, it's more like apathy. It's really that was the funniest thing is when they announced those feelings, and the amount of people I saw who A, couldn't pronounce ennui, and B, had no idea what ennui was. And it's like, yeah, you're right. At that point, this is supposed to be a movie for kids. It definitely feels like, yeah, that ennui was going to be shame, and they changed it in the final hour, and they couldn't think of an additional emotion. Because they were like, we need 3 new ones to, like, round this out, because 2 is not enough. But I was like, I don't know, shame works. Like, to me, but I guess shame and anxiety are too similar, I guess, is maybe also the thought.
I guess. I think boredom or apathy to me is clearer than ennui.
Right? I could just from the announcement of those characters, I never understood ennui. I get
Maybe that's
what
just
ennui
me.
is, but that's because I was a cynical teenager. Like, not a lot of people, and like I'm a film nerd, so it's a concept that you see expressed in like really pretentious films a lot. But like, yeah, an 8-year-old, I don't think they're gonna like. So many kids are gonna come out the back of that movie being like, "What is ennui?" I don't.
I mean,
understand.
yeah. Again, as an adult, I'm like that. So if I am, they certainly are.
Right?
Mommy, what's ennui? I actually don't know, honey.
It's kind of vaguely like boredom. That's kind of the concept.
Oh, and why should they just say boredom then?
Because it's not quite boredom. It's different than that. It's really hard to explain.
Seems like a really pedantic answer.
It doesn't.
Seems like they could have just said boredom.
Most people would say boredom, I think, when you look it up.
Yeah.
I don't know what the direct translation is. Also, I do have one more bit of news. If you ever watched The Simpsons, apparently they've killed off an iconic character on The Simpsons.
Barfly.
They killed off
one of the barflies. Yeah.
Barflies. Yeah. Which I think is so funny that he actually became a character. I was like, that's funny. Yeah,
I mean, You're on a show for 30 plus seasons.
But to be
Eventually, they
fair,
had to.
when was the last time we saw the guy in the hat? Like, I saw the pictures of him, and it was like the bald guy and the guy in the hat, and I was like, when was the last time we saw the guy in the hat?
I mean, I haven't watched the show in so long
No.
that I really couldn't say.
I mean, it blew my mind when I found out that Bender is just a background character on The Simpsons now. Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, you told me that last night. That's hilarious.
It was really weird. But yeah, that's the news. Jordan, do the news theme. That's our news theme. Jordan's currently hard at work writing us a theme song. Speaking about being thematically relevant.
Trying to.
He's trying to write us a theme song. If you know anyone who can write us a theme song, we're all down for a theme song. But with that,
because I'm just using an app on my phone.
With that, we're gonna move into our sponsorship section, which today's show is brought to you by the Part of Your Broadway World podcast. Now, Haley, tell us about your podcast. What do you do?
It is a Disney and Broadway themed podcast where we discuss musicals. We discuss Broadway musicals that are tied to Disney, mostly. But then we also discuss other musicals too. And then we also discuss Disney movies and anything Disney too.
Interesting. So, if you don't mind me saying, I also noticed that you also talk about like theater in sort of a general, because you've got some really big pull in terms of guests, but you got the one time I saw you had the lady from the union, or the person from the union, SAG-AFTRA, when they were in the, so it seems like you're sort of on the forefront a little bit when it comes to like theater news or theater content generally.
Yeah.
And I must say, yeah, some of the guests you pull are impressive. Like, it's like, wow, you got the entire. Like, I think you got the entire, or you got someone from the cast of Jagged Little Pill, which I thought was impressive. There's a show that you keep pushing that you got some of the cast of, or one of the cast members of.
One of the cast members from that show. Yeah,
remind
I'm
me.
I'm still gonna push that show. You need to watch it. You need to watch it.
Yeah. Well, we don't have Hulu here, so I think it's on my version of Disney Plus. I think I get it with Star. So it's one of those things where folding in new shows is tough because I got to fold it in with this. So it's on my list of stuff I want to watch, because yeah, it looks good. I like we did an episode on mystery, so I like mystery, and I like fun. I like stuff like that. So it just looks good.
So as a person who loves Disney over here, I have to know, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid? Good choice. Mine's Aladdin. I love Aladdin. Soft spot for Aladdin.
I mean, she named her podcast after it, Jordan. What did you think the answer was going to be?
It could have just been a synergy thing. It flows so well. She might have had another favorite. I just felt that that our audience and her audience, might have wanted to know.
And if you're looking for more of this face was on that one's podcast in the last episode, where we talked about My Fair Lady and how bad that musical is. And it's funny because I caught you on live with I'm guessing a friend of yours, and the fact that he also agreed that it was bad just like made my day, because I just keep expecting people to push back on that. Like, they'd be like, no, it's actually like one of the great, and no one's pushing back on that. It's truly incredible.
He was surprised when I said it was terrible. I was like, no, it's fucking garbage.
It's so bad. Like, it's incredible. It's funny because, so we're gonna, with that we'll jump into the topic of today's episode. Now, before we jump into it, we do this in two segments. We do it in rapid fire, and we do the full book report. So, did you watch anything you hadn't seen, or did you watch anything? Because we could just do this where we talk about what we watched, and you can input your 2 cents, or if you've got stuff, we can do this round robin style. You're the guest. It's dealer's choice.
I didn't watch anything.
Cool.
I kind of forgot to watch stuff, but I know musicals anyway.
That's all good. We picked a nice broad spectrum of things. We also I watched quite a number of extra movies, just in case you didn't. And I tried to pick some stuff that we talked about that I know you've seen. So don't worry about that. That's totally cool. So Jordan, we will proceed as normal, and we're gonna play a game called Has Haley Seen It? So Haley, at the end of each of our choices, if you have seen it, feel free to chime in. I've seen it. If you haven't, feel free to chime in. I haven't seen it. Now that'll make this fun. It'll be a game. So Jordan always gets to go first. So Jordan, you go first. What is your first bit of rapid fire? What was the first musical you watched?
My first Sorry.
I said it's gonna be an easy game.
Yep. I've got one. I have a good feeling on. I've got one.
My first rapid fire is The Greatest Showman.
Seen it.
Seen it?
I love that movie. That movie caught me off guard.
I love that movie.
I put it on expecting it to be bad once. Like I was like, there's no way this is really that. And it's like it's one of those like I love Paul and Pasek, the guys who did the music. I love their shit. Like we're gonna talk about Dear Evan Hansen later, but I love their shit. They're good. They're good.
I also enjoyed this movie. Hugh Jackman is great. They're all great. The songs are catchy. I have a couple of them on my playlists, so I know the songs. But it's fun. It's always a good time.
Yeah, they're like those songs are like generated to like create an earworm in your brain and get you addicted to them. I think it's funny because it's one of those ones where it's a fun movie if you like forget that he's supposed to be P.T. Barnum. Like if you're like he's supposed to be P.T. Barnum, like this is not a very accurate representation of P.T. Barnum's life. It's not.
I mean, with a lot of movies like that where it's based on a real person, I kind of just go into it with them as characters, and kind of forget that they're real people.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Kiala was great. Was amazing in that movie. She's my favorite part.
Who's sorry?
Kiala Settles, the one that played the bearded lady.
Oh yeah, she's so good. Yeah, she's so good.
She's very, very good.
Yeah.
I mean, all the singers in it are very well. Like they do a very good job. But Zac Efron really, if ever there's a movie that shows that the man can sing, like legitimately sing, I would say this is one of them.
I almost did High School Musical. I won't lie. I almost went back and I almost watched High School Musical. But I like that movie because that was sort of, for me, in my opinion anyway, that was him coming back. Sorry, I'm trying to find my notes. There we go. That's him coming back to musicals because he had sort of fought, because he became known as the High School Musical guy. He sort of fought that reputation as being, I'm just the musical guy, because he did High School Musical and then he did Hairspray. So I kind of like that this was kind of like, no, yeah, I still like doing these. These are still fun for me. My first one is Across the Universe.
Ooh, that one's fun.
Have you seen Across the Universe, Haley? Oh, I got one. Really? You haven't seen Across the Universe? You should watch Across the Universe. You would like Across the Universe.
If you like Beatles music.
You haven't heard of Across the Universe? Oh, beautiful. Okay, great. Across the Universe, it's you familiar obviously with the jukebox musical?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a jukebox musical with music from the Beatles, and it's about it's a love story about an English man who he comes to America to meet his dad, and it's sort of a whirlwind romance. He meets a woman, and it's really just it's basically about the cultural revolution of the '60s, which is what a lot of the Beatles music was about. And if you have you ever seen the Broadway version of Lion King?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But I'm going to.
Have you seen the Broadway version of Spider-Man?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. The director, Julie Taymor, she is most famously known for those two projects. And it's really surreal. It's really quite good. There's a are you a Beatles fan? Do you like the Beatles music?
I appreciate the Beatles. I appreciate them.
If you like the music, it's totally worth it. But there's a really good the song "She's So Heavy." There's this really cool section where he's going in for he gets drafted into the Vietnam War, and he's the whole scene is him basically being inducted into the army, and there's all these guys with like they've got prosthetic jaws on, and so they all look the same. They've all got the square jaw, and the choreography is fun. And yeah, it's just a lot of weird kind of, because it's the '60s psychedelic imagery. It's very creative, very fun.
I Am the Walrus.
I Am the Walrus. Yeah,
that song's a trip.
That song is that song.
Literally.
There's a lot of really fun moments where it's like, yeah, if you take these lyrics and you apply them to just like a shyster of a self-help guru. which is what Dr. Robert is in that. Yeah. It's really fun. A really, really fun movie. Wow, I was totally expecting you to have seen Across the Universe. Jordan, what's your next one?
My next one is Into the Woods.
Seen it.
Seen it.
Seen it.
Seen it.
Yeah.
Into the Woods is that one. That musical's so weird. Disney toned down how weird that musical is.
It's an interesting take on the fairy tales that we know and love.
To my knowledge,
I like how they did that. I like how they kept that true to the Brothers Grimm stories.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're definitely more like the stepsisters cutting off the heel and the toe and stuff to get the shoe to fit. That's straight out of the Brothers Grimm version. And the music, some of the songs anyway for me definitely have an earwig where they get stuck in your head.
I mean, Sondheim does that. He just does that.
It's the rhythm, I think, like that da 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 da, like that kind of thing, where it's something about those particular set of notes. I'm a sticker.
This was the musical that kind of made me realize that all Sondheim musicals sound the same. Like, if you've seen Into the Woods, there's no doubt you've seen Sweeney Todd, right?
I've seen the movie. I haven't seen the musical yet.
Okay, so have you seen the musical of Into the Woods or just the movie?
I've seen just the movie.
Oh, just the movie. Okay. I would love to talk to someone who had seen the actual musical, because to my understanding, the musical is like very different. The movie cuts out almost like the entire second act, because the concept of the musical, to my understanding, layman understanding, is that it's supposed to basically be like the first act is the fairy tale as you understand it, as you know it, as you understand it to happen, and then the second act is about like what happens afterwards. So like the Prince Charming, for example, he has a reprise of Agony in the second act that's essentially about how he's a deadbeat husband. Like he's like just like the fairy prince equivalent of a guy who just drinks beer and watches TV all day. He's just like a
Sounds about right.
And like that's where you find out that the wife dies and all that. It's supposed to be like, oh yeah, life after ever after isn't always a happy ending. Like that's the premise of it, and I think the movie changes that quite a bit.
There's a YouTube video of a couple cut songs from the movie. I think.
Interesting. I could believe it. There are a lot of times in things like this, there's usually a few songs that don't make the cut.
Yeah.
But overall, though, I mean, it's enjoyable. It's a fun movie. It's different.
One thing I just remember saying about it, the like one sentence review I gave of it was it's really funny how it's just upsetting imagery set to chipper and happy music.
Yeah. That's accurate.
Yeah. It was like, it made me realize that it's like Sweeney Todd and Into the Woods in particular, they both have the same melody and rhythm to a lot of their songs. And I'm like, they all sound the same. Also, that movie will forever be the movie where Johnny Depp sings an uncomfortable duet with a minor. Like it will always be that movie for me.
Wow, you went there. I wasn't gonna bring that one up, but yep. That sure happens.
In defense of the musical itself, traditionally, Red Riding Hood is meant to be played by an adult woman, not a child.
Still weird.
But
I found a bootleg of Sweeney Todd though, and I'm excited to watch it later today.
Ooh, which cast?
Josh Groban.
Ooh, is it wait, is it like pro shot or like is it?
Yeah.
Really? They did a pro shot for that?
No, it's not a pro shot. Someone filmed it.
Slime tutorial?
Yeah.
Slime tutorial. That's exciting. I've heard some of his stuff. It's pretty good. I listened to the entire soundtrack one day at work, and I'm like, quite honestly, it's just because it's more in my range, I kind of like the Johnny Depp versions of the songs better. I understand that it's blasphemous to the source material to say that, because Sweeney Todd is traditionally a much lower register, and like Josh Groban suits it more. But I just like I like his rock, it's like gravelly rock voice. I like my favorite version of Epiphany is the Johnny Depp version. Like I genuinely.
Also found a bootleg of Aaron Tveit's Sweeney Todd because he's in it right now.
Oh, is he? He's Sweeney Todd right now. Really? He's
Yeah,
also good.
yeah.
He's also quite good.
And Sutton Foster's
Oh, really? See,
um what's her name? Oh my god.
Mrs. Lovett.
Miss Lovett, yeah.
My thing with that though is no one ever, and to be fair, this is across the board when it comes to Sweeney Todd. No one ever gets the only one to ever get Mrs. Lovett right was Angela Lansbury. She was the only one because Mrs. Lovett is not supposed to be a young woman. Like it makes Sweeney Todd. I think I talked about when I did Tim Burton. I talked about Sweeney Todd the movie, but the movie is weird because a lot of the dialogue and lines are written as though Sweeney Todd and Mrs. Lovett are much older than they are, and so it's weird and it doesn't work. So when she's a young woman, you're left going because the whole idea is he's supposed to find the idea of like being with her romantically to be like off-putting because she's a much older woman. Yeah. And so when she's young and hot, you're left going, well, why wouldn't he want to date Helena Bonham Carter? Like, why wouldn't he want to? So
they seem like they would be a good match.
Yeah, they totally match each other. Like, why wouldn't they date? And so yeah, it doesn't work in the same way. It's one of those like some things just don't work adaptation to adaptation. So my next one. Sorry. Go ahead, Kaylee.
Just one more thing. Like, I just don't think Sutton Foster is like voice wise very fitting for Miss Lovett.
I'd have to hear it. I only know Sutton Foster from one role, and you're gonna laugh, but it's Shrek. She was. See, I
know her from much more, but okay.
Yeah, she was Princess Fiona in Shrek, and honestly, wait, Jordan, did you do Shrek? Did you get to do? No, you didn't do Shrek. I was gonna do Shrek. I ended up doing SpongeBob instead. We're gonna talk about SpongeBob.
I was gonna do Shrek, but I ended up doing the Prince of Egypt instead.
Yeah. I genuinely like that musical, and she's really good in it. Like I like what they did with her character in it. Like honestly, if you can see, I think it's on Netflix. It's honestly like unironically good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you've seen Shrek the musical? Oh, okay, I know it's really good. I love Shrek the musical. My thing is it makes those characters more interesting. The only thing someone pointed out to me is that the Shrek I Want song, it displays wants that Shrek, the original Shrek, would never have. But I argue that makes him more interesting. So, and the music's just good. Sorry. So my next one is, let's see, which one? Fuck it, Hamilton. I watched Hamilton. Because Jake said it was bad, and when he said that, I had already started it. that it was so ironic that he had said that afternoon, because I watched the first two-thirds of it, and then I turned it off. I was going to watch it later after I did the podcast, and I never got around to it. But I like Hamilton. I genuinely like Hamilton.
It's the best.
I understand. It's one of those things where when you love a thing, you have to acknowledge its flaws, and I do get what Jake was saying. Jake's for those who wouldn't know what Jake's opinions are. He says that the idea you're not like you when it comes to knowing a story, you shouldn't know how the story's going to end, and the fact that they just tell you how the story's going to end up front kind of gives it like ruins the ending. And I'm like, I do get what he's saying, but it is kind of like American history, so like most people going into it are familiar with it, so I think it's one of those times where you can kind of get away with giving it away up front.
Yeah.
But Jordan has pointed out that he likes the music, but he doesn't enjoy it as a play, which I thought was an interesting perspective.
I like the songs, but the play doesn't really. I find it to be kind of dry and it long, and it doesn't really do it for me. But I like the songs.
Perfect. Though.
What's interesting is initially I did agree. Well, this time I found the pacing to be tighter than I've seen it 3 times. This was my 3rd time watching it, and the first time I found the pacing to be kind of slow, and then the second time, it was a little better, and this time, it went by so quick. It was like I looked up and it was already almost done. So I think it's one of those like you appreciate it the more you watch it, kind of.
I mean, I am impressed and appreciate and respect the fact that they were able to make such a successful play on a topic that I would never think to make a play about the founding fathers. That's bold as far as I'm concerned.
I love watching it and being like, if you went back in time and told any one of these people that a person of color was playing them in a music. No, I'm totally kidding. If you went back in time and told them that there was a musical about their lives, they would have been like, "That's crazy." Like, it would have blown their, because they had musical theater back then. Like, musical theater is like an old concept. So it's like, yeah, they would have been like, "What? There's a play about me?" Like, yeah, there's a really famous, funny clip of the very first time Lin-Manuel performed Alexander Hamilton at the White House, where it's just him and Alex Lacamoire, and he's playing Aaron Burr, and he says, he comes out and he does the introduction to it, where he's like, I wanted to make it was originally a mixtape. It was a mixtape of one of the most hip hop figures in all of the founding fathers, and the audience laughs. And the comments on that video are hilarious, because it's like, yeah, like however many years later, who's laughing now? Like,
yeah.
there was either you or Jake said this during our Disney trivia night, like how I think it was Jake that was talking about, like, how, like, in the beginning, like, Aaron Burr says, like, and I'm the damn fool that shot him.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, now you just spoiled the ending.
Yeah. But I sort of feel like if you're American, you know that Aaron Burr shoots. I mean, I assume you do. I assume you do. I didn't.
It's history.
Yeah.
As a Canadian, I didn't know pretty much most of the historical stuff that happened in it. So
a funny story about it is, I mentioned this on that podcast, but that was Jake who mentioned it. But what I said was interesting to me as a person who was because we're Canadian, but as a person who's unfamiliar with American history, when Angelica Schuyler shows up, I thought she was the main love interest. I thought he was going to wind up with her, and so when he winds up with not Angelica, who does he wind up with? Shit.
Eliza.
When he winds up with Eliza, it blew my mind, because I didn't see it coming. I was like, oh, I thought for sure he was gonna wind up with the one in the red dress. Like, I was so like, the thought
not
I had,
part of history.
Well, that's what's so funny is I was like, I imagine if you're familiar with American history, you knew that it's screaming at you, and I'm like, I didn't, and so I posted that on Facebook, and my mother was like, spoilers. And then, yeah, it's history, Mom. I don't know how much I could spoil it for you. It's history. But here's my question about Hamilton for Haley, less for Jordan. Do you think they should make a movie?
Like what? Like a live action movie?
A cinematic, yeah, like a not like a pro shot movie like they did, but I'm talking like an actual movie, like an
actual movie, like Into the Woods.
Like Into the Woods, yeah.
Or Dear Evan Hansen.
I mean, yes and no. Like,
yes and no. Interesting, because I have thoughts on an adaptation, but I'm interested to hear what yours are.
I just don't know how that would play out with, like, Aaron Burr shooting him, like, because well, maybe it might work, because, like, if you've seen the movie Lincoln,
yeah. So I mean, I would do it like 100% historical epic, just like Lincoln. Yeah, do it accurate to the. But here's my pitch for it, because my favorite parts in Hamilton are where the characters just like break the fourth wall and just give you a history lesson. Like I those are where the characters will just, like, you're like, okay, I'm like, anytime I felt lost, the character would come out, particularly Aaron Burr would come out and just tell me what's happening. I love that. It was super useful. I would keep that for the movie, and I would have it where the framing device of the movie is it's a history lesson taught by a history teacher, and the history teacher is Lin-Manuel Miranda. And then I would write an original song, or I would have Lin-Manuel Miranda write an original song and have the history teacher rap it. So then that way you can get that original song nomination. And then every time a character breaks the fourth wall, have it cut back to the classroom, and the characters are there in full costume, just saying the lines to the students.
I have one request, though, for that movie, though. I want Jonathan Groff to play the king.
I'm
because he was
down for
perfect.
it. He has to spit though. He has to do a
He has
full-bore
to spit.
spit.
He has to
He has to
spit.
spit. He has to spit. They need to do a running gag where he's just spitting in people's faces and is completely unaware of it.
I'm just so glad that Lynn did not like cut that out.
I know. And he had the option to too. He could have. He could have cut it out, and he chose not to. And I respect him for it. He's like, no. The audience had to experience that. You, the people at home, also have to experience that.
It's part of the show.
You have to experience the spit.
They have to experience the spit. Yeah. Oh, but that was Hamilton. I had a great time. Yeah. It's funny because I thought it was longer. I remember it being 3 hours, but it was only 2:40.
I also enjoy the fact that like when it's intermission for them, they put like intermission on the screen.
Yeah, and I love. I mean, I as a person who has done a bit of theater, I do enjoy the minimal amount of stage work. Like there isn't a ton of props, there isn't a ton of costumes, there isn't a ton of set pieces. It's all the actors, it's all of them. That's where it's like when people are like, I don't think a movie version of Hamilton works. I'm like, I understand why you would say that. I truly do, because it is a real simple play in terms of its staging, which I think is for its betterment, but for some people it doesn't work. Like it didn't work for Jordan.
Boring.
So what's your next rapid fire?
My next rapid fire, I'm actually going to combine two movies for this one. Is I watched both Enchanted and Disenchanted.
I feel like Haley has got to have seen either one of those. I've
seen Enchanted.
You've seen Enchanted.
I haven't watched Disenchanted yet.
I heard Disenchanted.
Sort of bad things about Disenchanted.
It's not as good as the first one. I'll say. It's impressive to me with the second one. Since you haven't watched it, I'll try to keep it spoiler free. It's pretty paint by numbers, but I do appreciate that, with the exception of the little girl, they get all the cast to come back. So that's kind of like, it's a nice touch. The first one is cute. It's just cute. I love that it's a parody or an adaptation or not adaptation. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but homage, I guess, parody of like your classic Disney princess story.
Yeah.
I think the music is better in the first one too. I really only like one song from the second one, and that's the villain song.
Yeah.
The second one is fine. It came out a long time after the first one, and I don't really know who was asking for it, but it's a thing we have now.
Ironically, lots of people. There are lots of people who are asking for it. Like that's one of those ones. It went straight to streaming. Had it gone to theater, yeah. Enchanted is quite popular amongst like younger people.
Interesting.
But Giselle in particular,
kids
kids love Giselle.
That's because she's adorable. Less so in the second one.
Amy Adams is adorable.
Yeah, she really
She is.
My thing is like my thing about, and it's an issue I have. It's an issue I
love
have
Amy
with
Adams.
Another one of the ones I watched. But my thing with the second one is when because the second one takes place like 10 years after the first one. I looked this up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
something like that.
So it's just like, how did she wander through the world for 10 years acting like not a normal person? Like, you would think by this point she would be more of a regular person than she is in that movie, and it pulled me out of that movie almost immediately.
I would argue in the second one she is more of a real person. She just doesn't really get sarcasm, which, to be fair, you could choose to interpret her character. This is a whole conversation, but you could choose to interpret her character as being more like autistic.
Yeah.
And some autistic people don't get sarcasm.
That is true.
I mean, in Angelasia, they don't have sarcasm.
They don't.
Yeah, exactly. So
but, she's been on Earth for 10 years. You'd think she would have at least picked up the concept of it.
I mean, there's headcanons that you could come up with to excuse it. I remember liking Disenchanted. She's just too nice, she's too nice to be sarcastic. I like Disenchanted. I don't have any egregious issues with it. I just, of the two, I think the first one's better.
I remember saying it was good enough that I was like, it should have gone to theaters. It would have made money. Like the fact that it didn't go to theaters was a shame.
It definitely would have made money.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
They were just like, no.
No, yeah, they just dumped it onto Disney Plus. Well, their hopes is that more people will subscribe to Disney Plus, and that has never worked for anybody.
They should just do that with the Snow White one, because the Snow White one's not going to do very good in theaters.
No, I don't. No, that's even if it goes to theaters. I suspect that'll probably get dumped onto streaming. They'll salvage what they can. They'll salvage what they can in the edit and stick it on streaming. It'll be like that Lady and the Tramp one, which I've unfortunately seen. No, actually, I like that movie. Never mind.
I didn't see that one.
I actually, yeah. I watched it for this.
That was Enchanted and Disenchanted.
So my next one.
I like that one. Lady and the Tramp.
Lady and the Tramp. I think I liked it. I don't remember. That was a couple weeks ago, and I've stuffed my brain with more movies since then. I seem to recall liking it. I can't remember. I couldn't tell you why. I said it in our episode why. I think I liked it. I don't remember. That wasn't one of the ones I hated. There were ones I hated.
I hated it.
I hated. I'm in the two that I
The Lion King.
I hated The Lion King. I hate that movie. That movie's so bad.
The not live action Lion King.
I didn't like the mermaid.
The photorealistic Lion King, which has been misnamed as live action and is not live action. And yes, I know that's a nitpicky thing to get hung up on, but it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy, and I will never let it go ever.
I remember I hated the Mulan one. That I remember. God, I hated the Mulan one.
Josh, I haven't seen that one yet. I refuse to.
It's bad. It's bad. It's not very good.
I refuse to because of the whole Mushu thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it takes all the elements out of that story that make it fun and make it not fun and boring. Like it's just the thing about those movies is when they're doing stuff that's different and that's interesting, then they're fun and they're interesting. Like I said on Toon Talk, it's like I like the Aladdin one because of the stuff it does differently. And there's elements of the Little Mermaid one that are escaping me at the moment that I liked. Like I think Melissa McCarthy as Ursula is amazing. She's so good.
I saw a clip on TikTok, like a little snippet of the Mulan movie of all the soldiers sitting around the damn fire talking about how they might die. I'm like, that's not.
Yeah, no. They do attempt, like they'll do the scene, like they'll do the scene that's supposed to be. It's hard to explain or describe, but like they do the scene that's the song, but they don't do the song, but they play the song in the background. So it's like I'll Make a Man Out of You is there, the training montage is there, but it's now a scene that's 3 times as long and not with music. And it's the same thing with A Girl Worth Fighting For. It's just them sitting around a table saying the things that they've said in song.
So what I'm hearing is they've taken the original thing, which was good and fun, and made it worse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why? And they now.
With the intention
I would argue they now have a pattern of this with their live action movies. Stop it.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
In the case of Mulan, the intention was to turn it into and look, I'm not saying it worked. I'm just saying this is the intention. The intention was to take it and turn it into a Hong Kong style action movie so they could sell it in China. And then the pandemic happened and it destroyed that movie's box office. It got sent to streaming and then they tried to charge people $30 for it and it didn't work.
So stop it.
Stop it.
Just you put in a scene where they're sitting around the damn fire talking about how they're going to probably die.
Yeah, no, it's
like
it's not
stop
a good movie.
it.
It's not a good movie. It's a bad movie. Jordan, what you?
I don't like it.
Oh yeah, you just did
Enchanted, Disenchanted. Yes,
that's me. My next one is the Chipmunk Adventure.
The animated one?
The animated one, yes. And an asterisk, I want to talk about the soundtrack of the 2007 one because I listened to it again recently. And I guess I'll start there. Let's start off with Haley. Have you seen the Chipmunk Adventure? Are you a chipmunk person? Did you grow up with the chipmunks at all?
Like Chip and Dale, the chipmunks, or
Alvin, Simon, and Theodore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't watched those movies in a long time, so I don't even know if I've seen it or not.
Fair enough. I'm going to talk about the animated one from the 1980s. That's got the songs, "The Girls and Boys of Rock and Roll." You know, the girls of rock and roll. It's got "Off to See the World." It's basically it's like "Around the World in 80 Days," but with the Chipmunks. But I really quickly want to talk about the 2007 one with Jason Lee and David Cross, the live action one, because I listened to the soundtrack, and it's actually kind of good. Like, it's actually kind of a good soundtrack. Some of the songs are actually pretty good. Like, they're good, and they happen to have the Chipmunks in them. But my personal favorite is this one where it just kind of sounds like it's a woman. It's about a woman who wants to have sex with Alvin. Like,
That's weird.
It's really weird. It's really weird. There's a lot of lyrics about loving each other physically that are really weird.
That's weird, and I'm not going to address that because that's weird. But here's a fun bit of trivia about those movies. So you know how you said David Cross is in it?
Yeah.
So when he first signed on to do the first one, he was really desperate and needed money, which is why he agreed to do it.
He signed for
and he signed for the potential of doing a 3D movie thing on the if the first one did really well, and he was banking on the fact that it wasn't going to do well, and it did well.
Yeah.
And so then he was stuck doing 3 more movies. And by the time that the third one came around, like they had him in a pelican suit or a bird suit for like most of the movie, which he didn't need to be in. It could have been anyone. And meanwhile, he had another project that was going on that he had to quit and bail on because he was locked into this shitty third Chipmunks movie.
Well, even worse, they wouldn't tell him whether or not there was a third one. Like, he was like, is there going to be a third one? I want to do this project. Tell me if there's going to be a third one. And they were like, we don't know. And then he's like, okay, fine. He went forward with the project he was going to do. And then, like, the day he was going to start shooting, they phoned him and were like, yeah, you need to be in Hawaii tomorrow. And then, they put him in the seagull suit for most of the movie that he didn't need to be there for. And he was fucking pissed. But The Chipmunk Adventure is an incredible movie because it's from the 1980s. And it's not Disney, it's not Warner Brothers, it's none of the big studios. It's entirely self-funded, it's entirely self-produced. The people who created the Chipmunks paid for it. And it's kind of, the music is good. I maintain, the music from that 1980s Chipmunk movie is good. Like,
I like them.
Yeah, like, okay, their voices are high-pitched, but like the instrumentation is good. Like, I think they're iconic songs. I think that movie is underrated.
I mean, the way for me to tell whether or not a Chipmunk song is good, if you want to just judge it purely on its merit and not on whether or not you like the Chipmunks, is if you pitch the song down to normal speaking volumes, does it still sound good? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, then the song is good.
Exactly. Yeah. My one thing with that movie, though,
they do.
And it's a minor thing. You know how the bad guys show up and they're immediately and obviously evil, and we know they're bad right from the beginning. Well, I think it would have been better if there was maybe because they do this thing where they have the 2 bad guys chasing after them who you're supposed to think are evil, but it's like it's kind of confused because it's like wait, so are they just a rival evil people? And then the big twist at the end is that they're the good guys. So, but you're like,
they're Interpol.
I would have preferred it if the brother and sister, if they weren't immediately evil. And then it was like when you find out at the end when they discover the diamonds and the dollars, it's like, oh yeah, they're the evil ones, and the guys who we think are evil are actually the good ones. I wish there was more of that. But otherwise, it's just
my response to that would be, and this is going to sound patronizing. That's the word I'm looking for. But it's a kids movie.
No, we don't get to do that. We've done way too many hours at this point pulling apart kids movies. We don't get to do kids movies are dumb now. Because kids' movies can make sense. We talked about that previously. So
sure, but I'm just saying that's
that's
the filmmaker's perspective.
I suppose that's true. But yeah, that was the Chipmunk Adventure. Jordan, what's your next one?
My next one, and I have one more after this, is I watched most of 2 episodes shy of Has Been Hotel, an Amazon show.
Oh my gosh!
Have you seen Has Been Hotel?
I love that show.
Genius.
So good.
Yes, it is.
So good. Excellent.
I love that show.
Excellent. I was hoping you had seen it. I had a feeling you would.
I'm so excited for season 2.
Oh my
So
god,
excited.
I'm so excited.
excited.
I mean,
The
there's so much to
music
love about that show.
the music is so well written that the singers are broad, most of them anyway, I think are Broadway stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The characters are likable. There's like you actually get to enjoy seeing from the beginning of the show to the end of the show the growth of like Angel, for example, being like getting progressively better. Oh, so good. So much to love about it.
I mean, yeah, it's just
Um,
the music is good. The choreography, like the actual animated sequences themselves, are just good. It's just good shit.
yeah, it's a very pretty show too.
It's very pretty. I mean, I'm a big fan of Alex Brightman. I love Alex Brightman.
Oh, I love Alex Brightman.
I'm a big fan of Alex Brightman. I don't think Beetlejuice has come here. I think once, and it was one of those things where I was like, I think the only person who can do Beetlejuice is Alex Brightman. I can't picture anyone else doing that character. I just can't.
Mm.
Like he's so his version of Beetlejuice, Jordan, is basically just Adam. I mean that's
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's basically just Adam. It's
That's
not like the
funny.
movie. It's not like the movie version. Um,
Um,
he's also
but
Jack Black's character, and he was also in the School of Rock musical as well.
yeah, I'm stoked for season two. Like I just
Oh yeah,
oh
I'm
oh
really hoping because of its sheer popularity that it gets bigger next season. I hope like each season gets bigger and bigger, and they do more, and they like expand upon. I every time I watch something from it, I discover something new that I love. Like it's one of those shows.
um and
I'm so glad that Sir Pinches got redeemed.
Oh,
Serpententious, yes.
I mean, I
Uh
love the fact that like angels, despite the fact that they're supposed to be inherently good and you're supposed to not be scared of them. I love the fact that they're scary looking. Like I like that like
and and like in the Bible, they're dicks.
yeah, they're dicks. They're just massive dicks. Yeah. I enjoy subversions like that where it's like yeah, the demons are softer and like
Some of them.
squishier and nicer and for some of them. I mean, more just in terms of like aesthetics and how they're designed from a character design standpoint. I just enjoy the fact that
Um
the demons are like nicer.
I also there's things in the show that it's fun to theorize about where it's like I saw online some people were like, oh, you can tell who sold their soul based on the people's eyes. So Husk's both of his eyes are the different like are the solid color, whereas Angel's like one eye is different than the other because he's only sold his soul when he's in the studio and things like that, and it's fun. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Um,
Um, but yeah, that's Has Been Hotel.
all right, so
Anyone who hasn't watched it should
should
go watch it.
I was funny.
It's on Amazon.
I was at work one day and there was a woman in the lobby who was watching it with like out headphones on. It was just playing out of it, and she was watching it with
Oh
like her
yeah.
5-year-old, and I was like, I don't know that
Oh,
this is. I don't know that
not
this
for
is
children.
for children necessarily.
No, it's an adult animation. It's literally not for children.
So
I'll have to send you this TikTok, Justin. But like, there's this TikTok of like this guy dressed as Adam, that went to Comic Con, and like, he sounded like exactly like him.
that's
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's super
I've
cool.
seen some TikToks of some really cool cosplays from the show, and it's always fun.
Truly
It's always fun
cool.
getting to watch people be creative.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a former lip syncer on TikTok, so I will always have a soft spot for a good lip syncer on TikTok, and there's some good ones. There's some where they're not my favorite. I mean, the reason why I watched this show is because I saw I saw a lip sync of what's the song? What are we
More,
even talking about?
more
That one.
oh,
So
oh yeah,
Sarah
yeah,
finds
yeah,
out.
yeah. More than anything? No, not more than
No,
anything.
that's
Oh, oh my God, we're all going blank. Oh no.
I know it. It's right there. I listen to it a lot. I could look
But
it up. Hold on.
that little section of that song, I was like, what is this? And then maybe I was like, okay, I gotta go watch this show now. And then yeah, I absolutely loved it. You know what? And while you're looking that up, Jordan, since you did a show, I'll do one show.
'Cause that's gonna bother me.
I watched the first 4 episodes of Glee as an excuse to
I've
talk
seen,
about Glee. Have you seen Glee?
I've seen Glee since I was 14, baby.
Okay. Have you seen all of Glee?
I've seen all of Glee.
Really fascinating. I've
From
never
beginning
finished
to
it.
end.
So were you a big Glee fan at the height of its popularity, or did you discover it
Yep.
later? You were in it. You're like
I was
me.
in it from the beginning, baby.
Yeah, yeah, same. People don't get it. Jordan doesn't
You
get it.
didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't know. Oh, you didn't know. That's what it was. Yeah, that's the song that made me want to watch that show. But
Sorry, I didn't get what?
Glee. You weren't in it for Glee. You discovered Glee.
Oh no,
He
no.
wasn't in it.
I like the songs. I
Yeah.
like what you would download songs and stuff, and I like their songs, and I just
Yeah.
no, the show never. I didn't get into it until way later, and
Yeah.
I didn't finish
We
it.
used to have
I've
watch
never
parties.
finished it.
No, I've never
Middle of
finished it.
2000s. Middle of 2000s, I was there every single Tuesday night
Oh,
watching it on TV.
I was there every week. I used to. It's one of the. I've never finished it. I've never. And I say I'm going to. I always say I'm going to, and I never do.
I always get to literally the same part, and then I drop off
Yeah,
because
season
I
4 and
can't.
5. It's the one of the few shows I've ever rage quit. Like it got to a point where I would text my friends angry, just angry. And I was like, this is
Pardon
not
me.
fun anymore, and so I stopped watching it. I've never finished it. So other than to watch the ending, I watched like I think a bit because I wanted to know how it ended, and I know that the last season is like Rachel goes back to town and has to rebuild the Glee Club and but there's so much of that show that I hated Sugar Moda, couldn't stand her. But I maintain the first 13 episodes of that show is phenomenal. If you're I assume you've at least seen High School Musical.
I've seen every single High School Musical when they first came out.
I was just gonna say that the first 13 episodes of Glee are a phenomenal parody, a satire of High School Musical. Like,
Yeah.
just so good. And I maintain it is tight satire until it becomes the thing it's making fun of. But I love Glee. High School Musical. I saw High School Musical 3 in theaters. I was the only guy in a theater of prepubescent girls because my friends asked me if I wanted to go watch it, and I was like, sure, why not? That's such a strange series because the first two are TV movies, and then the third one went to theaters. It's crazy. Like, can you imagine today? Like, that would never happen today. You would never put out the third part of a series in the theaters that hadn't been theaters before. Like, that's crazy. That's like having two streaming movies and doing the third one a theatrical movie. Like that just wouldn't happen. They just wouldn't do that.
Definitely
today.
weird. Definitely weird.
Because that's how popular that franchise was. That's how much money that those movies made in terms of marketing and in terms of merchandising. Was they knew that they could confidently put it into theaters. What is your final rapid fire, Jordan?
My final rapid fire was I watched The Prince of Egypt, play, the musical.
The musical. What did you think of The Prince of Egypt? So wait, let's do this. Have you seen from the start? Have you seen The Prince of Egypt, Haley?
I've seen bits and pieces. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable.
Completely fair.
That's fair.
We're gonna talk about the stage play, which is based off of the movie, and we're gonna talk it from a purely non-religious perspective. We already talked about the religious stuff.
We talked about the religious. Yeah, exactly.
So it's just gonna be purely about the music and the staging.
And the story in a general sense of differences between the two.
General sense. Because I'm curious what Jordan thought of the staging of it.
I mean, what I will say is that like I like how they do waves and like when they part the Red Sea, how they go down the middle of the aisle and stuff like that. Like there's things like that, like when they do the chariot race stuff, how they're like racing on the people, the physical exertion and just the impressiveness of that in that regard. Looks exhausting. Like it looks exhausting.
Basically, Haley, for the staging, they have for like things like water and sand, and they have a group of dancers who basically like they act out being the waves, and they basically become this like there's my favorite section, my favorite scene in terms of how it's presented is the burning bush, because it's just this like amalgamous like chunk of people that are all talking at once, and it looks cool. Like it's one of those plays where you're like, this would be impressive watching it live. Like it's just well done and well directed.
I can respect the amount of work that went into it for sure. That being said, story stuff that I want to touch on real quick. I like that when Moses goes back, that his family is still, like, with the exception of his dad, are still alive, and unlike in the movie, like in the play, it's like, oh yeah, we realized we lied to you all those years. Did you hate us all along? Like, why are you doing this to us?
Yeah.
What exactly brought this on? And like questioning the morality and making him, they touch on that more, which obviously they can't do in an animated movie.
That's one of the things I liked about it. Yeah, it dealt with the morality of it.
I like that and this is one of the few times you would ever hear me say this, but I like that they touch on the fact that a lot of what like holds Ramesses and even the dad back from doing the things that they want is the political aspects of being a royal leader.
Yeah.
The fact that the priestess, like in any society, like Christian society and medieval, like the for example, monk priests and the religion and the cloth absolutely held leaders back and forced them to do things that maybe they didn't want to do, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that Ramses is like, okay, pretty much right off the bat is like, I'm going to give you what you want.
Yeah.
As long as you be my brother again, basically, and it's because of the political pressure that's placed upon him that he kind of has to be the character that he is in the movie.
I mean, that is fair, but there are also some really silly moments where Moses can just all of a sudden see the future, where he's like, I see that you're gonna be a great leader, and you're gonna and we're gonna soften all of the edges that your character traditionally has.
See, no, I in that instant, okay, I don't think he was seeing the future. I think that in that, because he in that scene, he's like, Miriam is the one that does this, not me. No, he's not seeing the future. He's softening what will inevitably come for Ramesses so that they can part in peace. He's bullshitting. He's
okay, fair enough.
He's saying whatever he has to so that they can part and he can get out of there and that they can still like end on good terms. It's not perfect, but
no.
It's fine. I think the movie is better.
Yeah,
that kind of sums up my opinions about it. As for musically, though, sorry.
My thing is, my thing is with the movie. How the fuck did that baby survive all that?
I mean, it depends. If you're a religious person, divine providence, God saved him.
Yeah.
If you're not a religious person, damn, that baby was lucky.
Yeah, sheer luck, sheer dumb luck.
I mean, the waves were crashing. People were like bumping into it. I'm like, how did you survive?
I mean, the gators, the hippos. I was gonna say the
gators, the hippos. Yeah.
Luck.
They also in that play ruin the plagues. The song "The Plagues," the best song in that movie. They ruin it.
Yeah.
They ruin it. It's
do.
Made much worse.
The only song that I honestly and truly really like in the play, is there's two. One, the opening one, because that's literally just pretty much exactly the same as it is in the movie. And the other one that I do like how they do is the gleaming in the moonlight song.
Yeah. I really like what they did with that. They expand it out and they make it into a longer song.
Yeah.
They give it
Other than that,
reprises.
I don't really like pretty much any of the songs in the musical.
No, none of the original songs are good. Not one of them. There isn't a single one that's good.
But that's the Prince of Egypt. That's really all I have to say about that.
So for my final rapid fire, Jordan declared that he felt that there were no bad musicals, and we're gonna prove him wrong today, because my final rapid fire is the Les Mis movie, which I'm gonna ask, have you seen the Les Mis movie? Because I'm about to shit all over the Les Mis movie.
I think we're gonna have an interesting debate here. If here it is.
You like the Les Mis movie?
Yes.
Incredible. How? I like Les Mis, okay? I love Les Mis. I love the music in Les Mis. That movie's terrible. Like, number one, Hugh Jackman is horrendously miscast. He's not the right vocal range for that character. Valjean is traditionally a baritone, a much lower register voice. So none of his songs, and that's not mentioning the fact that they're being recorded live. So all the actors are doing this weird talk singing thing for a lot of the songs. So a lot of the songs just are orchestrated badly. Also, and I'll let you defend the movie in a second. Also, every single song is boringly staged with these horrendous close-ups. Like, every single one is a static shot of an extreme close-up of a character.
Also Russell Crowe.
We'll get to Russell Crowe. What about? I just did a very long shitting of it. Why do you like the movie? And it's fine that you do. I'm totally.
We're all about other opinions.
Yeah, I'm all about other opinions. But no, yeah. Why? What about it?
She's holding back the rage.
Yeah. She's gonna leave.
You see it in my eyes, the blinking, the rapid blinking.
I'm shocked. I fully expected you to be on the same side as me with this one.
I was on the same side with you with My Fair Lady. That's all you're getting.
That's all I'm getting. Apparently. It's not a commentary on Les Mis itself. I love Les Mis. It's my favorite. My favorite.
I love the musical.
I love the musical.
It's the movie that I think dropped the ball.
Yeah, like my favorite version of Les Mis is the 25th anniversary concert where Nick Jonas is Marius. Not Nick Jonas is, and I will say the positive things. There is stuff about the movie I like. I really like Eddie Redmayne.
Is
there? There is stuff I actually like. I like, there are certain songs in the movie I actually like. Like, I love Eddie Redmayne as Marius. I enjoy his version of Empty Chairs at Empty Tables. It's really harrowing and it's really well done. And I just love how he slowly breaks down. Like, it's really good. It's really, really good. And I like their version of Red and Black. I also like that. But yeah, Russell Crowe. What? Yeah. Okay. I've shat enough. What? I will allow you the floor if you would like.
The vein is popping out of my forehead here.
Convince me. Change my mind. I'm open to having my opinion changed.
The vein in my forehead, my friend.
Throb.
Like is it like Hugh Jackman? Like, is it what is it like what?
Hugh Jackman is fucking great. The King, he is amazing.
I mean,
he's amazing.
I love Hugh Jackman. I just don't think he's right for this role. I just don't think it suits him vocally. Especially when you've got Colin Wilkinson in there, the original Valjean, and you hear him singing.
It fits him perfect. To me, I mean, I've never seen like the stage play, so I don't know.
Fair enough. So you've only ever seen the movie. Okay, that's totally fair. So that's interesting because we had a similar, and we're gonna get to when we get into the we're gonna talk about Dear Evan Hansen because you had said how I rewatched that movie, and you had said how you liked the movie. And so it's interesting. So if you've never seen the play or you're unfamiliar with the play, it's interesting how that can change because I had a similar experience with, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the Mean Girls musical, but I had a similar feeling of that where because I hadn't seen the original, I really like that movie, but there are people who have seen the original musical who don't like that movie. So that's interesting. So that's very interesting. But you got to admit, Russell Crowe is
Russell Crowe's terrible. Russell Crowe's awful, but I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Hugh Jackman and Hathaway.
And Hathaway is phenomenal. Her I will say, I Dreamed a Dream. Apart from, I think the staging in that movie is really dull. I just don't think they're doing anything. There's a lot of just, again, static, like extreme close-ups where they don't cut. And I get it's because they're singing live and they really want to capture the emotion. I understand what they're going for. But it's just not very visually interesting to look at. And to be fair... Sorry, go on.
Whoa! It's not visually stunning to look at.
Parts of it aren't. Like a lot of the songs are just like these really weird. Like I'm right in the character's face. I'm right in the actor's face, and it's just yeah. It's
dramatic effect, my friend.
I mean, I want to see like my favorite stuff is where they like pull back, and like one of my favorite numbers in that movie. I love it because it's dynamic and it's interesting. Basically, when you're doing a movie, when you're adapting a stage play to a movie, you want them to do something with the medium of film that they can't do on stage. So an extreme close-up of one character singing, you can pretty well do on stage. But that the first song that Gavroche shows up, where he's like jumping from carriage to carriage, and he's singing to the audience, but it's him singing to the rich people. I love that number because it's so dynamic and it's so interesting. But like I think On My Own is the worst song in that movie because the character's not in that movie enough for you to give a shit, and it's just her singing in the rain. It's like I don't know that character well enough to really feel anything for her, and all I could think about when I was watching it was this is such a small role. Why is the original actress playing her? Like, why are they not getting someone? They've already stunt cast this thing to hell. Why is she the one character who gets to be the original Broadway character? Like, it felt like they cut stuff out with her.
I ignore that.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I love Les Mis, and it's like I like the music inherently. I also don't like Sacha Baron Cohen and Helena Bonham Carter. I don't like them either. I think they're terrible
Love
in it.
that. I think that they were funny in that movie.
Yeah, but I guess because this is an instance of personal bias. My favorite portrayal of that character. I would recommend. It's really quite. If you like Les Mis, this is a lot of me joshing, but a really good version of it is. There's two really good versions of it. The 10th anniversary concert and the 25th anniversary concert. That's the version that we love. That's our favorite version. But my favorite. I don't remember the character's name, but the character that Sacha Baron Cohen plays. He's played by Matt Lucas in that version, and he's got some of my favorite lines and his reactions to certain scenes. They're just better and they're more interesting. I don't know. I did not care for that movie.
I think my only thing about the play in the movie, the musical and the movie is, I will say this, they are very gutsy to kill off a kid.
Yeah, I forgot that happened. I was like, oh yeah, this is upsetting. And I will say, I always say this, but watching a thing to say something about it, you do kind of pay attention to it more, and you learn more, and you pick up more about it. And there was like lots of little details that I was like, okay, this explains that. Oh, okay, I understand this now. But yeah, that was my final rapid fire. That was Les Mis. That was funny. That I didn't think that was that spicy of an opinion, that hot of a take, but I guess it was. Okay, so now, Jordan, what is your first major main book report of the ones you had seen?
My first major pick of the ones that I have seen is Muppet Treasure Island.
Another Tim Curry.
Yeah,
Tim Curry keeps showing up on this show. Have you seen it? Are you a fan of? I guess we should ask. Are you a fan of the Muppets generally?
Oh, I love the Muppets.
Me too.
That movie is so good. There's a really good meme I saw where it compares Tim Curry in A Muppet Treasure Island to Michael Caine in Muppet Christmas Carol, whereas like Michael Caine takes his role in that 100% seriously. He's like, so far as he's concerned, the Muppets are actors, and this is an acting job, and he's a real actor, and Tim Curry's just having fun. He's just having fun.
My favorite Muppet movie is the Muppet Most Wanted, though.
That's a good one too.
That's a fun one.
I think Jordan, you almost picked that one, right?
I almost picked the one that came before that one.
That was also good.
But this one comes from the era where funny that you say that Tim Curry doesn't take it seriously. I would say he does take it seriously.
Oh, it's not that he doesn't take it seriously. It's just he's having so much fun being there.
Oh, absolutely, he is.
He chews so much scenery in that movie.
But it comes from that era where this movie is good. I mean, it's good because it's a Muppet movie, but like the Muppets being there is almost incidental. Like they're just actors in the movie.
Oh yeah,
if that makes any sense.
Well, I mean, in like it's been so long since I've seen Treasure Island, but in Christmas Carol, they get top billing over the performers who perform them. Like it's starring Kermit.
Don't remember if they do in this one, but all I know is that the songs are good. I still the "Shiver Me Timbers" song, that's still on one of my playlists.
Oh yeah, I mean Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever is also great.
Cabin Fever is a good one. It's one of the words are difficult. It's funny because when Miss Piggy inevitably shows up in it, it's one of the few instances where you don't hear her say like, "Oh, Kermie," and instead she refers to him by the name of the character that he's actually playing, and it's very very bizarre one.
I was really sad that these movies didn't do better because they obviously had the Christmas Carol. They did a series of these in the 90s where it was like, what if the Muppets did classic literary tales? And Miss Piggy, I'm going to talk about her as if she's an actual actress, but she always gives like. She
is, you pardon my French here, but she is, you uncultured swine.
Jordan, that's a slur towards Miss Piggy. How dare you? How dare
that's
you?
That's what I said. Pardon my French.
Whoa! How dare you?
Which is ironic because I believe the character she plays in this is French.
Is she actually?
Cue Miss Piggy.
Cue Miss Piggy. Yeah, she's gonna come out and attack me.
I think she's supposed to be.
But no, she always gives subdued performances in these movies. Like they're really like they've still got that Miss Piggy kind of edge. One of my favorite ones is in I mean it's a bad movie. I wouldn't recommend it inherently, but they did a version of The Wizard of Oz where she plays all the wicked witches and all the characters are different.
I love that one. It's like my favorite.
I love that one. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the best one. It's not. It's got one.
It is too.
My I mean I'm an old school Muppet fan, so my favorite Muppet movie is always going to be the first one. But it's that one wasn't really a movie so much as it was a TV special, and that was during that period of time where like that's before the Jason Segel movie, before Muppets Most Wanted, and they kind of rediscovered themselves where they're like, we don't know what kind of tone we want to do. So I think the reason I don't like that movie, not that I don't like it, but that the thing that puts me off of it is I don't like Pepe. I find Pepe the prawn. I find him to be an entirely too horny. Like he's just an entirely he like there's this really weird joke. Him and Rizzo. There's this really weird joke in that movie where they're auditioning people to be Muppets, and they're getting on the bus, and Rizzo says like, "How do the girls on Girls Gone Wild do it?" And like. I first watched it when I was like not quite a teenager, but not quite a preteen, and I was like, "Oh, gross! That joke's too adult for the Muppets. I don't like it. It made me uncomfortable."
Right.
But now I can appreciate it a bit more.
I find that the Muppets sometimes, as they hit a certain point where it was like, yeah, you're right. They had an identity issue.
Yeah.
So they because originally when Jim Henson did the Muppet Show, they weren't for kids per se.
No.
But they weren't the Sesame Street, for example.
Exactly.
But they weren't like South Park.
Yeah.
Like they were sort of like in between family.
Jim Henson basically didn't want to be restricted to doing it just for kids, but he wasn't like an R-rated minded person. So,
yeah, like, exactly.
There were adult jokes, but they were clever and they were sly. Like, there was nothing quite as overt as that. Like, that has the same energy as that weird detective Muppet movie his son made. Which, if you've never seen it, I'm not going to waste time describing it to you. It's weird and bad.
But in terms of story, I mean, it's your classic Treasure Island story.
Yeah.
There's at least a few dozen variations of it. So if you don't like this one, there's probably one out there for you.
It's funny because, like, to compare it to another Treasure Island story, the Treasure Planet, where it's like part of the thing with Treasure Island is you're not supposed to get that Long John Silver is the bad guy, but like they always make him immediately suspicious and evil. So it's like, yeah, he's obviously gonna betray them. It's really obvious. So the one thing I like about the Muppet Treasure Island version, and Tim Curry plays him in such a fashion that's more how to describe it.
Charismatic,
caring, I guess. Like he's charismatic. Like I would follow him. Like he's not immediately evil. So him betraying them kind of does break your heart a little bit. You're like, oh yeah, it kind of does hurt a little bit.
And I would argue, Tim Curry's and the Treasure Planet version he is trustworthy. He doesn't look like because he's cyborg, but he ends up having a heart of gold. But this version, I would actually say, ends up being a little more evil than the Treasure Island or the Treasure Planet, version. But this version is more just selfish.
Yeah.
Tim Curry's version, like he's not like evil, but he just really wants the treasure, and if you get in his way, then that's where the issues are going to arise. But otherwise, he's just your standard pirate.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, I think I want them to bring back this idea of letting the Muppets just adapt. Like, let's do the Muppets. We talked about Frankenstein a couple weeks ago, but let's do the Muppets Frankenstein or the Muppets Dracula, or and have the Count be Dracula.
I've seen so many on Facebook that pop up or TikTok or whatever. I've seen so many different variation of ideas of what if we did X story, but it was the Muppet. So I think. Maybe I'm making this up off the top of my head, but I seem to remember seeing one where it was basically remake the Terminator and make it where it's all of the characters are Muppets except for the Terminator, and then make the Terminator a guy.
That would be fun. That would be very fun.
Maybe I just made that one up. But I've seen so many variations of things like that, where it's do this thing where it's X thing, but Muppets.
Mine was Knives Out, but with Muppets. And Daniel Craig is still Daniel Craig.
That's awesome.
That was my.
Or if they ever wanted to do a Back to the Future, don't do a fourth Back to the Future. Just do a Muppets Back to the Future, where they're all Muppets.
Yep. All right, Jordan. Anything else to say about Muppet Treasure Island?
No. I like Muppets. Muppets is fun. Just looking at the talent of the puppetry that goes into making it, it's always impressive. It's always fun.
It's always fun. What is your second one?
My second one is South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Which
as a name is funny.
I'm gonna tag on to you here because I forgot a rapid fire. But
how dare you?
Have you seen South Park the movie? Are you a South Park fan?
No.
No?
I've never seen a single thing about South Park.
Really?
That doesn't
never
surprise me.
Single thing.
Mostly because you said previously you said you didn't care for Book of Mormon, so it wouldn't surprise me that you wouldn't have seen South Park. That's why I also picked another one of their pieces to watch. I watched they're the guys who make South Park. Their very first musical, Cannibal the Musical.
That's funny.
I watched that. And it's funny because they have such a love for musical theater. Those guys, if you just want to see a good satire of musicals, and the idea of people getting sensitive about language, South Park. I think any person can enjoy South Park the movie. Unless you're sensitive to language, I think. Otherwise, like swearing.
Yeah.
If you don't like swearing, it's not going to be for you. But otherwise, I think it holds up.
Oh, I think it holds up. It kind of blows my mind when I think about the fact that as I was sitting there watching it, this kind of popped into my head. It kind of blows my mind that this movie was in theaters.
Right?
Watching it, it doesn't to me. The idea, much like if I go back and I rewatch the Simpsons movie, knowing having that memory of sitting in the theater watching the Simpsons movie with one of my friends, I couldn't today picture that movie in theaters.
And I mean, it's also really, I personally feel it's a really good parody of Disney movies, like particularly the '90s Renaissance. Like the opening song,
the first song. I was just gonna say the first song
the
is
opening
really
song is it's a song called.
I would say that it's kind of a parody of in terms of style.
It's Belle.
It's kind of I was gonna say it's kind of a parody of Belle.
It's just not kind of. It's straight up a parody of Belle.
I mean that style, sure. But and it's funny that you guys brought up Les Mis because one of the songs in it, Les Mis or La Revolution, it's very definitely a parody of One Day More.
The guy who's one of the little boys who sings it, he was Valjean, I think, in one.
Oh, really?
Les Mis, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I never picked up on that.
It's got like your like I Want song in the style of like Part of Your World or from Aladdin. Street Rat.
If I Could Show You the World.
Yeah, no, more like Street Rat. Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah.
The devil sings
up there.
Yeah, he sings that Big I Want song that doesn't have any curse words in it, ironically, and he's the devil. Yeah, it's fun.
His song I think is like the cleanest song in the entire movie.
It is, yeah. I don't think it has any. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have anything dirty or any swearing in it. That's part of the gag.
Yeah, I think that's part of the gag.
That's part of the joke.
But no, yeah, but enjoyable movie. Impressive when I think about it on the big screen, but also by today's South Park standard, pretty tame.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said we could do that on the show today. Like it's not really
like apparently the getting an R rating for it, that was a thing they had to fight for.
Yep, they wanted to.
They had to push for it because Comedy Central really, really, really didn't want them to do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'm excited because they're doing
all
a
musical. All over some foul language, which is kind of that's why the point of the movie is about the mothers and the foul language. You know, it's very funny.
That's what's so funny about that movie is it's not really all that bad. I mean, it does get a little violent in the second half, but it's really, in terms of movies, it's really tame. But no, I'm excited that Trey Parker, Matt Stone, they're doing another musical with Kendrick Lamar. So I'm excited for that. That's supposed to come out next year.
Apparently, the production for it started in the first season.
Yes, I knew that. Yeah, because it takes place. It came out between the second and third season because they were also working on the show when that movie came out, while also working on the movie. It's a whole big thing.
Interesting.
Anything else to say about South Park?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I could think of things, but that's the gist of it. It's good.
So for my first one, I picked one that I have a pretty good suspicion Haley's never heard of, let alone seen. I did mention it on the Toon Talk. It's a movie called Score, a hockey musical, and it is the most
Canada the musical,
Canadian musical I have ever seen. It's basically it's about a young prodigy hockey player who gets recruited into like an amateur hockey league, and he
refuses to fight.
He refuses to fight, and everyone is pressuring him to fight, and it is horrible. It's one of those movies where do you enjoy? Okay, I'm gonna ask you this, Haley. Let me ask you this: do you enjoy watching bad movies ironically? Like I guess maybe like you understand, you recognize they're bad, but you take enjoyment out of it because they're bad. Yeah. It's one of those kind of movies where it's like no one in it can sing, not a soul in it can sing.
Yeah, they're all off key.
Except for the main guy, he's the only one who can sing. Otherwise, none of them can sing. And like a lot of the songs are like not finished. Like they're just ideas of songs. Like someone sat down at the piano and like wrote out 2 or 3 bars of a song, and then just went, "I'll finish this later." And then it came time to do the final run of the movie. They're like, "Oh shit, we don't have time to do this. Okay, just put it in as it is." Because most of the songs don't
do it live.
Yeah, most of the songs don't end so much as they just kind of stop. And it shows that I saw a really funny review, which was like, it understands neither hockey or musicals, because if you're familiar, are you a sports person at all?
Or Canada.
Do you watch hockey at all, Haley? I can't imagine you do. No. Very simple game. but the puck in the net. That's all you need to know. But this movie would have you believe that it's essentially boxing on skates and on ice. Like at any moment, you're just waiting for people to fight. Like at any moment, at a drop of the hat, the players will just start fighting each other, and that's just not how hockey works. And like so much of the songs are just like characters doing dialogue that was probably just spoken dialogue that they've converted into musical. So it's just people like having conversations in song, like not really singing songs. Like there's like 2 good songs. One about hockey, just generally, and then there's the one about when he refuses to fight, and they're basically like, we're drawing a line in the sand. You either fight someone or we're not going to help you. And it's not bad. Like some of the choreography is okay, like some of it's kind of interesting, but for the most part, just a bad. The funniest part is the end, where they have, you know how most musicals end with like the big musical number where everyone cheers and high fives. Well, this movie has one of those, except for clearly they've shot all of the hockey scenes in one day in a hockey rink, at a local hockey rink in Canada. So like they don't have any extras. So like there's like half of the rink is the cast of the movie doing the choreography from the movie, and the back half of the extras are just random people who were just there for the day, who they've clearly just tapped on their shoulder and been like, hey, you want to go be in a movie? Like you can come be in a movie, because there's just kids in the background kind of dancing. It's really funny.
Here's $10. Let us film you.
And these are only for Jordan, but it's got George Stroumboulopoulos in it for some reason, and he plays a hockey reporter, and then it's got Walter Gretzky, Wayne Gretzky's dad. It's just there for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
He's in a number because there's a moment.
I guess because it's a hockey movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's everyone you would know if you knew hockey. It's really
Nelly
Furtado shows up at the end, which I'm not sure if people outside of Canada know who Nelly Furtado is.
She's in the main song, right?
Yeah.
It's wonderfully contagious.
Yeah. That's her.
That line. Yeah.
I was confused. It's funny. I tried. I could have sworn I saw that there was a pro shot for Jagged Little Pill, so I wanted to watch that.
There is. I can send you one.
There's a pro shot? Ooh.
I can send you one.
Yeah, send it to me because I want to watch it. I went to watch it. I was like, that's the musical, Jordan. That's it's based on it's a jukebox musical. Of course, you know what a jukebox musical is. Oh my god, I feel dumb now. Jagged Little Pill is a jukebox musical about
awesome.
Alanis Morissette. It's an Alanis Morissette album. Yeah, it's you know the song You Ought to Know?
Yeah.
It's the album that song comes from. So it's
which I never knew, by the way. I never knew this was about Joey Gladstone.
Well, okay. That's the rumor. It's about Joey Gladstone. It might not actually be. He maintains it's not about him, and she refuses to confirm one way or the other. There's a theory it could be multiple guys. So nobody knows for sure. But also, Ironic is also in that. But isn't she also Canadian? I feel like Nelly Furtado is Canadian. Not Nelly Furtado. Alanis Morissette. Isn't Alanis Morissette famously Canadian? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she was one of those Canadian exports that got really popular.
Yep.
But yeah, it's one of those movies where I'm going to recommend it to every non-Canadian I see, because I'm like, if you want to know what Canada is like in a nutshell, if you want to see the most Canadian thing you could ever see, it's probably that movie. It's either that movie or Canadian Bacon. Like, those are the 2 most Canadian movies, I think, in existence. Jordan, can you think of a more Canadian movie than those?
No, now all I can think about is Bacon and how much I want it.
I mean, that's fair. I did bring it up.
Bacon.
I find the only thing I really ever remember about that movie is the first time I watched it was me and him and a friend of mine. And I just remember, like, midway through when the actors couldn't sing, she turned to me and went, "What the fuck is this?" And I was like, I don't know. It's a weird, bad movie.
Why did you do this to me?
Yeah, why did you do this to me? But yeah, that was Score, a hockey musical. And then the second movie I watched Dear Evan Hansen. And I'm gonna do this differently because I know you like this movie. So I'm not just gonna go out of my way to shit on it. I really like that musical, and in spite of its great many flaws, I do like the music. I do like the music. Number one to
I
start off
love
with.
I love the music. I love the music.
I mean, Ben Platt's
And
too old to start off
I like
with.
the play.
That was the number one thing. I was like, yeah, right. Ben Platt he looks like a 40-year-old man trying to pass. He looks like that meme
Yeah.
of Steve Buscemi being like, "How you do, fellow kids?" Like he looks
Yep.
like that.
He's too old.
And just like my number one thing with it, when it comes to, it's like I said before, when it comes to adapting a stage musical, my thing is like, what are you gonna do with the advent of film that you couldn't do on stage? And it's the same kind of a similar thing with Les Mis, where it's like it's a lot of characters just like singing at each other. Like the most egregious thing in that movie for me is like Sincerely Me or Waving Through a Window, where you've got all these extras in the background and none of them are singing, but you've got background singers singing, and it's like, you've got extras, use them. Like do big numbers, do something with
They're
this.
supposed to do. That's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, but it. I do get it. I do.
They're high schoolers.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one real moment. Okay, here's what I'll say. You can do the static. It's one character that's singing thing, but like there are moments where they do it interestingly. Like with Zoe when she's singing what's the song?
Requiem.
Yes, where she's in the car, and like there's actually like emotion. Everyone is good. I think is good in that movie, except for probably Ben Platt. Ben Platt is he's just miscast. He's so miscast in that role.
He was in the actual Broadway production. How was he miscast?
Because it was too late. It was too late. He's too old.
He's too old for it. Like
fair,
he is singing in the movie. His singing is still good. Like he still vocally matches the role because you're right. He was originally cast for that role. But visually, like men, and it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so forgive me, I'm going off memory here. But like men looks like he shaves, like he's like significantly older, and it makes the song where he's obsessing over Zoe feel creepy because it's like this 20-something looking year old man is like obsessing over a person who was actually cast for the proper age, and it's just, you can tell that they're not in the same age range, and for me it makes it feel weird. Whereas in the original play they're the same age, right? Like it works better.
There's a lot of you're right, he originated the role on Broadway, and there's a lot of like he sung these songs like hundreds of times, and he just doesn't have the same level of like passion for it as he used to. It also they've costumed him and put makeup on him in an clear attempt to make him look younger. It just kind of makes him look older, and it's just awkward. Like it's different than when you're on stage, when he's on stage and people aren't looking at him from a distance. That's kind of the thing. On stage, you can have a character play multiple ages and not age, and because it's theater, it doesn't pull anyone out of it. Whereas
because it's farther away and you can't see it as easily.
Yeah.
See, though, I don't pay attention to that stuff. I don't care about that stuff. I just care about the story and the music.
Which is totally fair.
That's fair.
That's totally
different
fair.
strokes, different folks.
It's like one of those things where it's like when you like my brain has a hard time turning off the critical part of it, and also
I think part of what made it hard for me, because you're right, a lot of times I can do that. I'm lucky in that regard. A lot of times I can also do that. I can ignore certain things that drive Justin crazy. Much to his chagrin, it drives him crazy that I can do that. But for me, part of what made it difficult for me in this was this is one of the few times where I have seen the original play. And because I have seen the original play, I know I can spot the differences. And I just remember as we walked away, both Justin and I saying there's certain things about this which things that come from the play which don't translate to the film as well as they could have. Like they could have done it better, in my opinion. It's not to say that this is from my perspective, that this is like the worst film in the world. Oh my God,
No.
it's the single worst piece of film ever. No, I just think that there are corrections that could have made that would have elevated it and made it stronger.
Yeah.
Because I love the music. I love the music. Oh, I listen to the music pretty much every day. It's on one of my playlists. Like it's
Oh, for
don't get me
sure.
wrong.
I still think that waving through a window is
any film criticism that we may throw at it doesn't
Oh
detract from
yeah.
the things that I love from
It
it,
made me
right? So
sad how much I didn't like that movie because I really like that play, and I think that people reduce that musical, and remove the nuance from it. Like I've been in the place of like telling people things they want to hear and letting things go too far. And so it's like, yeah,
snowball.
I think that there's more nuance to the black and whiteness that people have ascribed to that play, that story. But yeah, there's just a lot of like they cut out and change subplots. So like certain, like for example, Connor's dad is now his stepdad for no real reason. What else?
That being said, I from what I remember, I think they made Evan's dad more of a character in the movie
Well, one of the
than he
things,
was in the musical.
one of the elements that they cut out of the movie, which I was really, I still remember, I was upset the first time I saw it. And I was like this time as well. In the play, so wait, have you seen the play? Yeah, have you seen it? You've seen the Devin Hansley? Okay. What do you like better then, the movie or the play?
I like them equally.
Interesting,
That's fair.
fascinating.
That's fair.
That's completely fair. I mean that's good. I just that the poor critical reception to that movie made me sad because I want more adaptations of musicals, not less. So people liking it is good. That means they'll make more. Like I want to be more chill movie. Like that's my dream. That's my next movie I want to see. But so you've seen, okay. So how do you feel about the cut songs? Like Jordan hated the fact that they cut Does Anybody Have a Map?
I love that song. Was disappointed they didn't have that.
Sorry.
But I was upset with that, but like I don't think it changed much. To be honest,
I see. I think they take away a lot from the mom. The mom gets so much more. Which version did you watch? Like because I saw the version of it I saw was a Slime tutorial with the original Broadway cast. And
yeah,
the
me
original,
too.
Okay, cool. So we've probably seen the same one then. The mom, the original mom, Julianne Moore doesn't touch her. Like she's so good in the original. So big, so small, man. That made me weep. It was like, oh, it reminded me of my own mother. But I think that song introduced, because the thing with Connor is we never really get to know Connor before he dies, right? Not really. The only idea we get from him is the fake version that Evan has created, right? So I think that scene introduces the Murphys in a way that like you get to see them more normally. I think that, and then that introduces you to the mom and her. So I think it's definitely. I understand why they cut it. I understand why you want to start with waving through a window, but I don't know. I like that. I think that song serves a purpose. It's like cutting when they cut the Evan. Everything's going wrong for Evan song. I think that song also probably, because yeah, there's a lot of plot lines that they just kind of drop. Like there's a plot line of like Jared becoming jealous of Evan's popularity that they don't really do anything with, or they made Jared gay in the movie so he could say the homophobic jokes. Yeah, it's like I don't understand the purposes of these changes. But there was that was the thing I was gonna say. The thing with Evan Platt, Ben Platt, I find is he feels like he's still doing a theater performance where it's like he's doing the big expressive emotions and the big like weepy thing that you can do on stage and it works. Like it's powerful on stage, but it doesn't necessarily work on film, and a lot of the staging with Dear Evan Hansen is so minimal. I understand how converting it to film would have been challenging. Like, I could see how it would be.
I think it works. I love that. I love him like being all theatrical in that movie because it's perfect.
Interesting. Fascinating to see a different perspective. I've never. Yeah, you're maybe one of the few people I've seen every. I feel because there's a really one of my favorite YouTubers is Jenny Nicholson. She did a really long, like hour and a half video just tearing this movie apart. And I feel I'm being kind. I'm being kind to it. It's one of those I wanted more out of it. It just didn't do enough for me, I think is what it comes down to. And
I think part of the problem for me with it was that because I had such a fondness, I think this movie was doing an uphill battle for me.
Yeah.
Because I had such a fondness for the musical and for the music that I was expecting a lot out of it, and I don't think it was ever gonna
live up to those expectations.
I don't think that it was gonna ever hit those heights that I kind of wanted it to.
There's two things I noticed this time, and then we'll move on to the stuff we haven't seen. But there's two things I noticed this time that was interesting. At the end of Waving Through a Window, when he's walking away from that song, you can hear in the background the band is playing Does Anybody Have a Map? Which I thought was interesting. I never noticed that the first time. And then I thought they cut the baseball glove subplot. I distinctly remember them cutting that out. But it's still there. I was like, wait, they still have the whole conversation about him and the baseball glove, but now it just doesn't have music? Well, how did I forget that? I made fun of this movie so hard for cutting out the baseball song. Because I was like, yeah, I get it. Nobody likes the baseball song. Even people who like Dear Evan Hansen don't like the baseball song. Like it's like pretty much everyone's least favorite song in that
yeah,
musical.
I was gonna say it's not my favorite song, that's for sure.
Yeah, like I can't. No, it really is my least favorite song in that musical because it's just a nothing of a song. My favorite is still Waving Through. In fact, I used to that and Words Fail. I love Words Fail. That song's so good. When I first saw that goo tutorial we're talking about, I wept when he's like breaking down and like confessing to the family, and oh my god. And now as like what, did we lose Haley?
Oh.
Are you still there, Haley?
Oh.
There we go. Okay,
go.
I thought we lost you. Oh, you're muted again though.
Oh, we're muted again.
It's okay.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a Spur of the Moment podcast without a bit of tech issues. It's all good.
I don't know why it froze, but I'm good.
That's very strange.
It's par for the course on our show.
Yeah. But it's par for the course for our show. But no, as a person, as a performer, the notion of getting really snotty and crying and like doing what he did on stage like 5 nights a week, like my throat gets sore just thinking about it. Like I respect him as a performer. I do. He's easy to make fun of, and but I do enjoy his performance as that character. I just like the play better, I guess, is the long and short of it. But anyway, with that, Jordan, what hadn't you seen?
Well, the first one is one that my only frame... It's funny that you brought up Glee earlier, because my only frame of reference for this was from Glee, and that's the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I had never... Prior to this, I had never seen it. We're going to skirt around a lot of it, because, oh boy, does it get spicy.
It gets a little spicy.
I don't know if either of you have seen it, but
I have seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yes.
I had really only known the song Time Warp, and that's because a friend of mine I think it was his birthday or something, one of the parties at his house, one of the last parties at his house, near the end of the night before the party kind of wound down and we all went to bed. We did the Time Warp where we all did the dance. We all, did the pelvic thrust as it were.
So wait. Hold on just a second, Jordan. Are you familiar with Rocky Horror Picture Show, Haley? That's a pretty iconic musical.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. It's a 50-50 chance.
It's a funny thing too, where I wasn't planning for the connective tissue of Tim Curry when I selected my movies. I actually forgot that he was in this, and then he shows up, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
This is one of his most iconic roles.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Playing
But
Frankenfurter.
It's a pick. Fun fact: they did a 2016 TV movie thing where Tim Curry came back and he was the doctor that does the narrative bits where it's like it's just a jump to the left.
That's so
that
funny.
character.
Yeah, I watched that movie at my grandmother's.
Which is funny that he came back for that, because apparently for the longest time they wanted to do like a full on I think it was a sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and the reason why it never got made was because Tim Curry had no interest in reprising his role.
Fair enough. I could see. I don't think this needs a sequel. To be honest with you, I don't think it needs. I think it stands on its own 2 feet, its own merit.
I can even tell you what the name of it was gonna be if I can find it in here. Give me 2 seconds. Maybe not. Cult Following, Origins, Legacy. Was it under? I don't remember.
So have you seen the movie, Haley, or have you just seen a play version of it, a musical version of it?
There it is. Rocky Horror Shows His Heels was what it was going to be called.
Interesting.
I've seen the movie with Tim Curry.
Okay, yeah. That's what. Yeah.
And then I've seen the horrible 2016 one.
Oh, so you have seen the 2016 one? Interesting. So you think it's bad?
It's horrible.
What makes it bad?
The acting is horrible. I wanted to shoot myself the whole entire time.
Yeah, but isn't the whole point of... I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate purely here, but isn't the whole point of Rocky Horror is that it's supposed to be slightly campy and the acting is supposed to be slightly off? Isn't that the whole appeal to it?
I mean, it's supposed to be based on like a 1930s style show, which, I mean, yeah, definitely by our modern sensibilities would be considered campy. I would argue that the 1975 version is kind of campy as well.
Who's playing Frankenfurter in that 2016 one?
Laverne Cox.
Laverne Cox. I don't recognize them by name. That was the one Jordan said was Victoria Justice plays Janet, right?
I think it's Victoria Justice is what I saw.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Okay.
You know, I that was from that run of live musicals that Fox was trying to do. They did that. They did Grease. They did Hairspray. George, you have anything you want to say about Rocky Horror? Else you want to say about Rocky Horror?
Not that I can say on YouTube.
Okay. What was your next one?
My last one for the day is Little Shop of Horrors.
That's a good one. That's also good. Let's do this. Haley, have you seen Little Shop of Horrors?
I love it. It's the perfect musical.
That's what Jordan said. Jordan said the same thing.
Great.
Yeah, Jordan.
Perfect movie musical. I loved it.
Jordan,
so good.
Jordan spoke so highly of it.
It was my first time watching it, and Justin hasn't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Which shocks me. It shocks me that you have. It's so up your alley.
It's now on my
list. The singing is so good. It's directed by Frank Oz, so the puppetry is so good.
Also,
which
another connection.
Funny connection. Yeah, I was just gonna say funny connection to Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Which again, totally unplanned. Funny how these things sometimes just happen.
They just happen.
But I watched the version that I watched was the director's cut, which has at the end the ending where the plants win and destroy the world.
I will say this: the woman who played Audrey, in the older version of the movie, like she's not a good singer.
No, the version in the 1986 version was she wasn't bad, you know. I think my favorite singer is funny enough, the Plant. Such a good singer.
I mean, yeah. The Plant is so good.
It's so good. But
my favorite song in that musical. I haven't seen it, seen the whole thing, but my favorite is always "Feed Me." Feed me. Parentheses, get it? Good. Yeah, that one's good.
But it's one of those movies where people who haven't seen it have still seen some like elements of it in other things. So, like for example, until I watched this movie, never realized that in the Harley Quinn show, the Poison Ivy's plant that's in her apartment. Yeah. I never realized until I saw this that that's a parody of this.
That's funny.
It's like it 100% looking at it. There's no way it's not. But no, yeah, great movie, and you should watch it, Justin.
I'm gonna.
We're both pressuring you. You need to watch it.
Yeah, it's 2 votes. Yeah, 2 votes. Is that all you had for? Is that all you had for Little Shop of Horrors? Oh, Jordan's frozen.
That's all that I had for Little Shop of Horrors. It's a fun movie. No, am I? You were frozen.
Oh, are we all freezing?
I mean, I'm not.
I'm not.
Are we good?
We're good.
I'm not.
Okay.
It wouldn't be the Spur of the Moment podcast without tech issues.
We always have at least a few. It's fun. Rick Moranis is fun. It's all fun. It's good. That's all I have to say.
Excellent. So I'm gonna do mine real quick because we're running long here. I'm gonna start. Firstly, I watched Waitress, Haley. I think we talked about how I wanted to see Waitress. I watched Waitress. Okay. I watched the pro shot. I watched the movie. And it was phenomenal. It was so good. I was so impressed. It legit. The staging is great. I'm always a fan of like when they are able to move like sets super fast and transition between scenes so fast, and it was believable every time they were in a new location. Like I like that the acting is so good that I believed that they were in that location when they were there. Like there's a scene where they're in the doctor's office that sorry, Jordan doesn't know what Waitress is. I'm gushing about a thing I have to explain to him. Sorry. I'm forgetting a part of the show. So Jordan, Waitress is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a musical about a woman who's a waitress. She's in a small town. She's in a relationship with a piece of shit husband who's abusive and treats her like shit, garbage. And she discovers that she's pregnant and decides she's going to keep the baby. And it's basically about her kind of trying to like get out of her situation. And there's there's like a whole diner with characters. There's a mousy woman with glasses who's like a kind of a awkward social nerd, not really good socially. There's a black woman who's married, but she's in a loveless marriage. And yeah, it's basically about them at this and
it sounds funny enough. This sounds familiar.
I can't think of maybe you've seen the original movie it's based off of. It's possible. I don't know.
Maybe.
But the music's
or
good.
Something
good.
Parodying it.
Yeah, or something parodying. Yeah, I'm not sure. I was impressed by a lot of the thing that I went whoa was the song they sing where they all sleep together.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, so have you seen the pro shot or did you watch this live? Is this one of those ones you saw live?
This is the pro shot. I've never seen it live. I've always wanted to.
So you've seen the pro shot. Okay. So they had the song where they're all having sex on stage. That was so weird. I'm like, how did they get I was like, whoa, like the I forget her name. I forget the character's name. But they're dressed as revolutionary. Dawn. Dawn
and Oakley. They're dressed as like
revolutionary
dwarf people. I'm like, oh my.
And they're just straight up doing it. Like just straight up. It's like, my God, this is pornographic. What is this? Like I can't believe this. And so like whenever I see stuff like that, right? And like whenever I watch live theater, I always come at it from a perspective of like the guy who has to perform that. Like, man, I can't imagine the amount of rehearsal you had to go through, the discussions you had to have.
Talk about performing under pressure.
I'm just saying, like, she's like bouncing in his lap, and I'm like, whoa, this is dirty. Holy mackerel. Yeah, it's spicy. It gets spicy. And my favorite song in it is still "She Used to Be Mine." That song makes me cry every time. It's so good. It's so good.
Entire thing made me cry.
Oh my god, I absolutely loved it. That song reminds me of my mother. But he's really good. I'm not gonna have time to talk about SpongeBob, but because I want to talk about Mean Girls more. But just real quick to compare it to SpongeBob, another pro shot I watched this week, and Hamilton. It's just a really good pro shot. Like I love it when pro shots utilize the fact that they're technically a movie. Like there's a really cool shot where it's the three main lead women and it's shot and they're all looking up in one direction and it just looks cool. Like it just looks interesting. And the performances are all good. Sarah Bareilles, I don't know if she originated. I think she came back to do this pro shot. Yeah. She originates the role, right?
Yep.
Yeah. She's so good. She is so good. Is she American? Do you know?
Yep.
She is American. Okay. I thought maybe with a name like Bareilles, she might be French. I thought I maybe heard like a French accent creeping through, where I was like, oh, is she maybe not American? But yeah, she's so good. Either her or there's a really good performance, the Tony performance of, I want to say Sarah Jessie. I don't know if I'm getting that name right, but she's really good, and I really like her performance. But yeah, I know I was impressed by how much I loved it. I was thoroughly impressed.
Because Sarah Bareilles, if you didn't know, she created all the songs. Those were all her songs.
Okay, I knew that she wrote "She Used to Be Mine." I know that was one of her songs. I did know that. Yeah. I didn't know she did the rest of them.
Yeah.
Oh, so did they start off as songs first? Or were they written for this music? So they started off songs first, and they wrote the musical around it.
No, actually, no. She wrote these songs for that musical.
Interesting. I've heard it's because I know that this musical is based off of a movie. It's based off of an independent film, and I've heard the musical's so much better than the movie. Like I've heard the movie's okay, but the musical is phenomenal, and it is. It truly is. It's really
yeah.
Good.
The movie's okay. I couldn't get through the whole thing.
Interesting. I mean, there were points where I was definitely uncomfortable. Like, there's a lot of times in when I'm watching plays where I'm like, I take for granted the fact that it's a play and you can't do the same stuff you would do in a movie. So I'm like, I just was afraid I was gonna have to watch domestic violence. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't have to. Like that was a relief. Like there were some uncomfortable moments of like borderline consensual activities that are happening here. It's like, ugh. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the second thing I hadn't seen, which I watched this morning, is the Mean Girls musical. I watched the Mean Girls musical, and
I haven't watched it yet, so don't spoil.
Okay. I'll do this non-spoiler free. Excellent. Then I can do a really fast review. I really liked it. Like I really liked it. I'm not gonna shit all over it. This might be a hot take, but I think I like it better than the original.
Better than the original movie?
Yeah. I love the original movie. It's a classic. It's really good. But okay, I'm gonna have to do this delicately. It's longer than the original movie, so it has
more fleshed out.
Yes. So
that was the musical itself.
Yeah, the musical, it's shorter than the original musical, which is 2.5 hours. I've discovered most musicals are about 2.5 hours. It's only 2 hours. So they cut, I think I saw 8 songs. So
which some of the songs that they cut were my favorite songs, which I'm kind of pissed about.
Well, that's kind of So it's interesting.
So see, take those emotions that you have, and that's how I felt about when they cut out. Does anybody have a map?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting because I've only seen the movie. I've never experienced anything from the play. So I'm going this purely cold, and I liked how they take more time to have her become plastic. It's more gradual,
more of a build up.
Yeah, and they develop more of a friendship between her and Janice. So it's like in the original movie, one of the things that always bugged me about that movie was how Janice never takes any ownership of her participation in what they do to Regina. Like, it's all of the blame is placed squarely on the shoulders of Katie. And it's like, well, yeah, but Janice kind of like pushed her to do this. Like, she is in part... Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've seen a clip of her singing, like when she goes up to the guy that sells the candy canes, and she goes, "One candy cane, please."
Yeah.
I gotta say, I like the musical version of that better.
Yeah. Well, I really liked. I'm gonna fuck up her name. Oeli Cavello.
Ali Cavaro.
Yeah, Moana.
I think. Yeah.
Sorry,
Moana.
I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name, Moana. She's Janice, and she's really good. I really want to see more from her. I was so impressed by her. I really like the girl playing Katie. I like her. This is controversial. I think I like her better than Lindsay Lohan. She's a bit. Yeah.
Hot take there, man. That's a real hot take.
She's a bit softer to start off with, and she's a bit nicer. So when she becomes full plastic, it's a bit more of a transformation. And it actually feels like her and Janice and Damien are friends. And I like the music. The music is really good. I was really impressed by the music. I like the opening song. And it's also interesting because it's as much as I think I saw Tina Fey say this, that the original Mean Girls is a movie for millennials. This is very much a movie for Gen Z. So there's a really cool musical number. If you're familiar with the original, it's the one where it's not Gretchen, the one that's played by Amanda Seyfried. It's her song. Karen, yeah, Karen's got the song where she's filming herself because a lot of this movie involves social media. And she's filming herself singing this musical number, and she's doing like TikTok transitions and stuff, and all the choreography is utilizing TikTok. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And I appreciate how they've kind of taken, like, it's the first time I've ever seen TikTok used in a movie, which was, it was believable that the people who were making this movie actually used TikTok. Like, usually it's like, I don't believe these people have ever used a social media app, but in this point it's like, yeah, like it's switching between the phones as like she's doing different transitions, and it's like, yeah, I like that. It modernized it in a way that's interesting. And two of the characters come back. Tina Fey comes back as the character she was in the original, and the principle is the same. But no, overall, I was surprised. I kept putting. I've been wanting to watch this because I like the original Mean Girls so much, but I've been putting it off, and I was shocked. I was shocked how much I liked it. I was like legitimately like surprised. I was like, wow, this is quite good. So, to round out our musical discussion, I will then, if you have Paramount Plus, Haley, you should check it out. If you like Mean Girls, it's quite good. You'll like it. Yeah, it was quite good. So, that was musicals. Thank you for joining us, Haley. Thank you for joining us for this big long discussion about all sorts of different musicals. We managed to stump her, guys. Variety. We managed to find some musicals she hasn't seen. She can go check out now if she wants.
Yeah.
But we're gonna wrap up the show. I'm gonna let Haley once again plug where we can find her, all the spaces in which we can find her. But I have to give Jordan for next week. I have to give him his assignment. So for next week, because we had Haley here with us today, Jordan, I want you to pick an actress. So let's get some female power in here. We're gonna talk about some actresses next week. Pick an actress, pick her filmography, watch some movies you haven't seen, and then next week we're gonna come back and talk about it. That's for Jordan. Haley's welcome to come back and hang out if she wants, but that's for Jordan.
I have some ideas.
Jordan has some
Or
ideas. That's going to be for next week. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Spur of the Moment podcast. Haley, where can people find you? Tell us all the places.
You can find us. We're on Spotify. You can find us on Spotify, but you can also find us on YouTube. And the YouTube is the video podcast, the video version of the podcast. If you just want to listen to us, you can just go on Spotify. But if you want to watch us, you can go on YouTube at Part of Your Broadway World podcast.
Excellent. So everyone go check her out, especially maybe go to the last episode she did, because her guest star, I hear he has some pretty popular opinions about My Fair Lady. That's what I've heard. So go check.
And some people say that he's handsome too. Also,
go check out the latest episode of Toon Talk 2.0. We're both on there. She kicks our butts in Disney trivia. There are some hot takes in that episode, maybe about Robin Williams, which got kind of spicy. It got kind of spicy. I think we can all agree.
I was getting ready to kick Max's ass. Destroy him.
I felt kind of bad. It felt like we were all like teaming up on him there. He defended his position. He did, but go check that out. That's a very fun episode for people to check out. But Jordan, where can people find you?
I do Minecraft Mondays on Twitch at Zethgore187, and I'm here.
I am on TikTok. Also Haley is also on TikTok, right? Part of Your Broadway World.
Yes.
And Haley, she's on TikTok as well. You can find her there.
Yep.
I'm on TikTok. It's mostly this. It's shorter versions of this, but it's this. You can check. Also, I do post clips of the podcast if you don't want to sit through the whole thing. I get it. 2 hours is a lot of time. I understand.
Mine's just the shorts.
Exactly right. I understand. It makes the podcast more approachable. I get it. But in the meantime, thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you all next week. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Hold on. In stream.